We're going to dive right into a literal masterclass in human psychology. Welcome to today's explainer. We're going to dive right into a literal masterclass in human psychology, translating it into a tactical playbook to help you spot and completely disarm manipulators. Look, if you've ever felt like you're being played or, caught yourself second-guessing your own decisions, or maybe you just feel totally drained by certain people in your life, well, you are in exactly the right place. We're going to decode the invisible power dynamics happening around you every single day and give you the tools you need to fiercely protect your mental sovereignty. Now let's start with a really fascinating core truth from our source material. Manipulators, they never announce their intentions. Obviously, if someone just walked up to you and said, "Hey, I'm going to betray you," you'd immediately put your guard up, right? But manipulators don't attack head-on. Actually, they sneak in the back door. They don't push. They just build trust really slowly, brick by brick, entirely so they can use it as a weapon against you later on.
So, to counter this invisible threat, we've structured this explainer into a 5-step defensive playbook. 1. The trap of manipulation. 2. Guarding your information. 3. Mastering your emotions. 4. Spotting hidden agendas. And 5. Boundaries and unpredictability. All right, let's kick things off with Section 1, the trap of manipulation and how trust becomes a weapon.
Okay, picture this. A new coworker joins your team, they grab coffee with everyone, they listen to all your personal struggles, and then, boom! They use that exact confidential info to leverage your promotion for themselves. They literally built trust just to weaponize it. The really crucial takeaway here is that manipulators do not attack your logic. No, they target your emotions. Why? Because they know for a fact that feelings are way more powerful than reason. When someone triggers your guilt, you suddenly find yourself doing things you'd normally never do just to make that uncomfortable feeling go away. Or when they trigger your fear, telling you you're going to fail or end up alone, you just hand over your freedom. And if they create this illusion of love and constant availability, you'll drop every boundary you have. The absolute best manipulators, they don't force you to do anything. They just create an emotional environment where you make the exact choice they want, fully convinced it was your own idea.
Which brings us to Section 2, guarding your information, the power of strategic silence.
So, we live in a culture that kind of confuses being honest with being an open book. But, being honest definitely doesn't mean you have to share every single detail of your life. As this really powerful Machiavelli-inspired concept points out, people are ultimately going to follow their own interests. Openly broadcasting your every plan, your deepest fears, your next big goal, it's literally like showing your opponent your next 5 chess moves. If you tell everyone your next career move or what truly scares you, you're just handing them a blueprint to use against you if they ever decide to cross you. Sure, some smiles are genuine support, but others, they're just gathering intel.
Try to remember this dynamic the next time you're in a group setting. Speaking gives away your power. Strategic silence and listening, that forces other people to reveal theirs. Seriously, think about it. If 2 people are in a room and one talks for a solid hour while the other just listens, who actually holds the power there? The listener. People are naturally so uncomfortable with silence, they will just rush to fill the void. They'll over-explain, they'll let slip their true ambitions, their hidden jealousies, their real character. So by just sitting back and listening, you gather all the power without giving up a single ounce of your own.
Moving right along to Section 3, mastering your emotions, taking back the remote control.
There are basically 2 types of people in the world. People who control their emotions and people whose emotions control them. And let me tell you, manipulators are constantly hunting for that second type. Here is a really hard truth from the source material. An emotional person is a predictable person. If someone insults you and you instantly explode in anger or totally cave to guilt, well, you've just handed them the remote control to your life. They know exactly which buttons to push now. Anger is an absolute favorite tool of theirs because an angry person stops thinking and just reacts. They'll intentionally provoke you, bruise your ego, sit back and watch you lose your balance, and then use your own reaction to ruin your credibility. Your lack of emotional control literally becomes their greatest asset.
So how do we get that remote control back? Well, the very second you feel triggered, whether that's a flash of anger, a wave of guilt, or sudden fear, immediately run through this 3-question framework to just short-circuit that emotional reaction. First, ask yourself, what am I feeling right now? Second, what is this emotion trying to force me to do? And third, is doing that actually in my best interest? Just taking a breath to pause and ask those 3 things puts logic right back in the driver's seat. It instantly turns a messy emotional reaction into a sharp strategic decision.
But it's not just anger and guilt. you also have to conquer something called approval addiction. Now, this is basically a mental prison where your entire self-esteem relies on external validation. It's that nagging hunger to be liked that makes you say yes when you really want to say no, just to avoid a little conflict. A manipulator is going to spot that a mile away. They'll realize you care way more about keeping up your nice person image than actually protecting your own peace. And if you're trying to please everybody, you become the easiest target in the room, because they know you'll never push back. True freedom? It's knowing that even if the whole world criticizes you, if you know you're right, you stand your ground.
Okay, Section 4. Spotting hidden agendas. Reading the real motives. Now that we've got our emotions in check, and we're not desperate for everyone's approval, let's talk about identifying toxic people in your own inner circle. You know, the ones putting their interests above yours. Very few people are going to attack you directly. The real danger comes from hidden agendas, people who are just using you as a stepping stone. So pay close attention to these classic fake friend traits. They actively seek out your weaknesses. They subtly minimize your wins. And while they might play the supportive friend to your face, internally they're constantly comparing themselves to you. Ever noticed how someone's support just magically vanishes the second you actually succeed? Yeah, that's because your success is triggering their hidden insecurities. To spot a hidden agenda, you got to look past what they're saying and ask yourself, what are they actually gaining here? And how do they react when I finally say no? Trust me, the answers to those questions will reveal exactly what their words are trying to hide. Which brings us to our final phase, Section 5, Boundaries and Unpredictability, the final defense. To establish total mental sovereignty and basically make yourself impossible to manipulate, you have to actively defend your space. And look at this massive paradigm shift. Saying no is not building some selfish, aggressive wall. It is simply installing a door that you control. So many of us are exhausted not because we're weak, but because we just give everyone 24/7 access to our time and energy. Boundaries simply dictate who gets to come inside and who stays out. Manipulators absolutely despise boundaries because it totally blocks their control. They'll test the waters with small stuff first, taking up a little too much of your time, ignoring a small preference you have. And if you don't say no to the small stuff, they are just going to keep pushing. Remember, saying no to someone else is very often the only way to say yes to yourself.
By setting those firm boundaries and refusing to react the way a manipulator expects, you instantly transform from predictable prey into an adaptable target. Think about a hunter in the woods, right? If a prey animal takes the exact same path every single day, it is ridiculously easy to trap. But if it constantly changes its path, its speed, its habits, it becomes a total nightmare to catch. Manipulators rely on your patterns. When they smash that guilt button, they fully expect you to cave. But what if this time you just stay silent and calm? You literally break their mental model. You become unpredictable, and someone who can't be predicted simply cannot be controlled. So as we wrap up today's explainer, I want to leave you with a pretty provocative thought. When the pressure is really on, when someone is questioning your worth, pushing all your buttons, or just demanding your time, are your emotions making your decisions, or are you? Just remember, true power comes from a deep, internal stability that absolutely nobody else can touch. If your self-worth comes from within, external manipulation just totally falls apart. So take back the remote control to your life, guard your energy, and make yourself unplayable. Thank you so much for joining me on this deep dive, and hey, keep building those doors.